Okay, so now we are in the record. So first of all, I would like to thank you for for giving me this opportunity, so as to express and share the points of the new theoretical concepts in psychology, specifically mass psychology. And also, I'd like to thank you for the motivational words that you give me and you share with me all the day about developing myself and developing these thoughts and ideas. So, thank you so much. Thank you. So the floor is yours, so you can answer any question about the theoretical concept. But before this, I can share with you just a small introduction. We can say a general idea about how this research, or we can say this project, this theory was developed first. So all what we are going to delve into here in this theory is related to imagination, as you know that, because anything is emerged from imagination. So any person here in this world, a scholar, physicists and scholars in general, scientists in general, if you ask them a question that which is how did you develop this theory, from where it comes this theory, okay, they are going to tell you that by doing a lot of research, by reading a lot, we developed this concept, and we were having the ability so as to build a theory, we can say a hypothesis. But if you ask them where it was this idea, they are going to say it is in the mind. Okay, so this is very important. So anything in this theoretical concept is built through the imagination, which is the introduction, or I can say the first step, which we rely on so as to build reality, of course. So for example, anything around you here, even the phone that you are holding now, or can say the laptop which is in front of you, it was just an idea in your mind, okay? As you know, it is just an abstract idea, but the person is working hard and he's doing his research. He starts collecting a lot of concrete things so as to build this thing and bring it into reality. So we can conclude that this theory is coming from imagination, and I am trying so hard so as to bring it and put it into reality, so as that can make people observe it and understand its meaning and its principles. And as a small introduction for this concept, what pushes me to do this research is that I am myself is suffering sometimes from this disorder, which is bipolar disorder, because as we are going to see that this this subject, or I can say this topic, is related to one of the famous disorders, and one of the famous, we can say famous and infamous, because it is infamous because when we talk about disorder, it's something that is very harsh and very difficult for people to deal with, and so on and so forth. And it is famous because it is widely known in the world of psychology, of course. So this thing pushes me and pushes my imagination, so as to start discussing these ideas with myself first. How can bipolar patients move from one level into another of thinking, and so on and so forth. And the reason that makes me build this theory is that I watched a lot of videos about those people who are suffering from this, and I found that they are suffering from not only mental problems, but also these mental problems, or you can say mental disorder, is depicted, or you can say is translated into their behaviors, and so on and so forth. So that this is just a small overview about this theoretical concept, and of course you are welcome. You can ask me any question about this concept. So the floor is yours.
First of all, I read your investigation and I want to congratulate you for doing this and for your endeavors in the psychological field. Yes, indeed, your investigation, I found it very interesting. Why? Because it is very important, and it is very important for not only the people who are suffering from the bipolar disorder, but also for the people who are normal, who are not suffering from this. So, before getting and digging deeper in your investigation, I would like to ask you about what is exactly bipolar disorder?
Yes, of course. When we talk about bipolar disorder, we need first of all to differentiate between three principles, or I can say three ideas in psychology, because we have something called disorder, and we have state, and we have something which is called trait, or I can say trait. So when we say that this is a bipolar disorder, which means it moves from three levels that reach disorder. How can we understand it, this thing? You need to bear in mind that those people who are suffering from bipolar disorder, they have something called emotional swings. Sometimes they are depressed, sometimes they are happy, and sometimes they are normal. It's like three people inside one person. And this disorder, why we call it a disorder? Because it moves from stages. The first stage, for example, a normal person before he became, or we can say he becomes a bipolar patient, the first thing that will come to him is a state. And when I say a state, which means there is something that happened from time to time. For example, if someone, for example, you love and you miss, when you see him, you are going to be happy. So this is a state. You are not going to be happy all the time. It is not an L, or you can say an illness. Okay, you are going just to see him, and you are going to hug him, and so on and so forth, because you are loving him like your mother, like your father, and you will be happy. So this is a state. We call it in psychology a state. The trait is something that is repeated. Okay, when we move from state into trait, now the thing, it becomes more difficult, because trait is something, it's more higher than the state itself, because the state happen from time to time. But trait, we can say that the depression comes to you two times per week, or three times, or four times, or three times per month, or a month. So when we move to disorder, which is the last, we can say the very important thing in psychology, as you know, that Sigmund Freud discussed these notions about the disorders and so on and so forth, schizophrenia and so on and so forth. And you know that there are a lot of disorders in psychology, like ADHD and so on and so forth. So when we can say this is a disorder, when it is repeated a lot of time. So bipolar disorder, in Arabic we call it Tuna'i al-Qutb, but in English we call it bipolar disorder, or I can say manic depression. How can we understand this concept? Is that the person who is suffering from this illness, or I can say this psychological problem, is that sometimes he's very happy and sometimes he's very depressed without no reason. So he's, for example, sitting in front of his laptop playing games and so on and so forth. But in a one moment, he's going to be depressed. He's going to close his laptop and go in a corner in his room, and he starts crying. Or sometimes he's very depressed. He doesn't like life, and he wants to suicide and so on and so forth. And sometimes he's very normal. So if you find a person who is all the time, you are going to find him has mood swings. Sometimes he's very happy, sometimes he's very depressed, sometimes he's normal. And if you ask him why you are doing like this, he's going to answer that he doesn't know any answer about this problem. He's just like this, because in bipolar patients do not have any control over their minds. They don't have the ability to control their minds. The mind is controlling them, and not they are controlling their minds. That's the very important thing, or I can say that common core points in bipolar disorder, and that's what we call bipolar disorder. Another title, or I can say another name, it's called manic depression. Sometimes you are going to find those people are suffering from mixed uh, situations, or can say mixed emotions. He's very happy and at the same time he's very depressed. Like for example, and one of the famous people who was suffering from bipolar disorder is Van Gogh, the famous painter. So Van Gogh was suffering from this illness, which is bipolar disorder, and before he died, I think the day he's going to kill himself by a revolver, you can say a gun, he was suffering from a mixed emotional mood, which means he's very happy and at the same time he is very depression, and that's what we call the bipolar number two and number one and number three, because we have types of bipolar disorder. So when this is the most dangerous part, when you are, for example, very happy and very depressed, because when you are very happy you are impulsive, you can do everything. You want to fly, you want to eat a lion, you want to listen to music, you have an intense intensity of reaction, and at the same time you are depressed about life. So sometimes this situation, or you can say this mood swings, I call them mixed mood swings, pushes you to kill yourself. And that's, if I want to say, a general idea about bipolar disorder or manic depression.
Yes, yes, I understood now. So it is obvious that the bipolar patients are difficult to deal with, yes, and to treat. Why? Because, first of all, bipolar disorder is an internal, I can say, disorder that controls the mind of the patient, and also the patient himself can't be aware why he is struggling with this disorder, as you said. But I want to know
Yes.
uh, if, if bipolar disorder, if it is genetic or environmental. In other words, um, is it internal or is it caused by external conditions?